What's going on? Stefano here, founder of Realty Rulers. In today's video, I'm going to explain the biggest mistakes I see people make when running real estate ads to get seller leads specifically. And at the same time, the 4 biggest lessons I personally learned over my journey, not only when running real estate ads to get listings for my clients, but at the same time, when running ads for my own business, right? So let's dive into it. So the first thing is why should you even listen to me, to be honest? I'm just a random guy online talking about that. I personally myself managed over tens of thousands of dollars in real estate ad spend for my clients, and at the same time, I'm not only doing this for my clients, I'm also doing this for my own business, Realty Rulers, so running ads for my own business for myself, right? So the first thing I learned myself on my journey is the biggest mistake I see people make when running real estate ads, even to get buyers or listings, doesn't really matter, is focusing on the platform. So in the beginning, when I started, I thought that Google Ads was the only way to get decent leads. And at the end of the day, I learned that no matter the platform, the leads are pretty similar to each other. Yes, okay, if you're, advertising in a luxury market, for example, Los Angeles, whatever, in a specific zip in Los Angeles and luxury neighborhood, you might want to do something with YouTube because the sellers are most sophisticated or the buyers are most sophisticated, whatever. But in most markets in the whole country, I'm talking about US and Canada, you really the audience that you target when running YouTube ads or Google ads or Facebook ads is pretty much the same. So for example, John Doe wants to sell in 2 months, he comes from Facebook, and Michael Smith wants to sell in 9 months and he comes from YouTube. So it doesn't really matter. A lot of people make the mistake, in my opinion, that they think that, oh, if I run video ads, the leads are going to be higher quality. And while that's partially true, at the same time, the biggest lever that you have at your disposal, the biggest ammo that you have, is in the back end. It's not in the front, okay? Because yes, John Doe might watch the video and the front end and video ads, but at the end of the day, if you're just a video ad and then in the back end, you don't even call them the second time, it's not gonna really matter that much, whether cool video ad you have or whatever, right? And so whole platforms work when you have the right strategy behind them, right? When you have a plan on how to follow up with the leads, when you have a solid calling script, when you have a solid listing presentations, all the platform work. Ads, to be honest, are just 25%. And this is fun because it's funny enough, this is a video about ads. But to be honest, the biggest thing that I learned is that ads really don't matter that much. The toughest cookie in real estate, especially to get listings, is in the back end. So lead conversion, lead nurturing, listing presentation, calling the leads on the phone. Because, a lot of people think they're good at it, right? A lot of people, oh, I'm such a boss on the phone. But in reality, with this specific type of leads, there are certain things you got to do that are totally different from all the other sources, right? If you're used to being a boss on the phone while calling for sale by owners, well, this type of leads is totally different. If you're used to be a boss on the phone and you're calling Zillow leads, these leads again are totally different. The questions you ask, the way you ask the questions, etc., right? And so if you don't have a proven script, a proven follow-up plan, proven listing presentation for this specific type of leads, so online leads, I'd recommend you start with that before spending your first dollar on ads, right? A lot of people think, oh, I'm just gonna, run a bunch of ads and that's gonna fix everything. And that couldn't be farther from that couldn't be that could be more distant from the truth, right? The real truth is that, honestly, again, ads are not something that's gonna fix your business, right? If you're within your sales process, there are you don't have a good listing presentation, for example. You could be running ads, getting good leads, having a good script, but then your listing presentation is terrible and you don't get listings, right? So what I'm saying is that what really matters is that all the pieces in the back end are good, and then you can run ads. So don't see ads, please don't do this mistake, as a one size fits all fix, because that's not gonna fix your business. And if you run ads without a solid thing behind it, it's gonna only make things worse, right? Ads are not made to fix businesses. Ads are made to like enhance your current process, if your current process is good, and to scale it, right? And to build something that's like predictable at scale, right? And so how do you pick the platform though? Like, you're probably wondering, okay, like how do I pick whether you use YouTube, TikTok, Google, Facebook? To be honest, like, you should brainstorm about the budget you want to put in. That's number one. So if you want to put $5, don't run ads, okay? Like that's the third point. If you want to put $5, don't run ads, okay? You know, you probably could get like those $2 cheap leads. Honestly, again, if you want to put $5 and you want to try it for a month, don't do it, because that's gonna result in a waste of time. Ads is something that takes a while, not only to master what's in the front end, but at the same time master the process that's gonna get these leads to listings, right? And those things take time, right? It's not like you can do it in like 3 weeks and really see results, right? And so the second thing, brainstorm about what market you're in. So by the way, point one, when it comes to the budget, so if you have a high budget, I would recommend, like, you know, example, you have a high budget, you want to spend 3K a month on ads, you could do something omni-channel too, right? I see a lot of people just focus all their attention on one platform. To be honest, you have a high budget, you could do Google, Facebook, YouTube at the same time, because you have a high budget, right? What I recommend though is that you start focusing on one single thing. So in the beginning, it might be Meta, for example. That's in my opinion, the best thing to start with in the beginning. And then over time, when you want to target more like niche markets, for example, like again, luxury markets with specific zips, you might want to do Google or YouTube, right? And so second thing, brainstorm about what market you're in. Again, like I said, if you're in a luxury market, if you're not in a specific segment in California where the average home price is like $2 million, you don't wanna run like those home valuation Facebook ads, right? Of course. Like, not saying they don't work, they work really, really well across all the country. Why? Because the audience is not that sophisticated, right? And honestly, if you try to approach an unsophisticated audience with a sophisticated ad, it doesn't work quite well, right? So that's why the home valuation ad typically works really, really well across US and Canada. But if you try to use that targeting a luxury neighborhood, like, it's not going to work that well, right? What I'm saying is that if you want to target a specific like niche of the market, you might want to try like to do something with YouTube or cool stuff with video and stuff like that, right? And the third thing is about the audience you're targeting, right? Again, like I said, especially because I see a lot of people do think that video, especially for sellers, is gonna work so well. Honestly, from my experience, the only thing with video is that the cost per lead is a lot higher, and the reason being is that the vast majority of home sellers right now are like 50, 60, 70 years old. And not saying that they are not able to use a phone, of course they are, but the level of sophistication again is not that high. And so when you try to like, you know, run these fancy videos with like this old thing, like, you know, crazy hooks, that works really well for like buyers. If they're young buyers, for example, you understand that if the audience like 70 years old, like, and they're not gonna watch a whole like crazy Hulk video. Like, they could, right? But it's not gonna make that much of a difference. And the cost per lead again is a lot higher, like typically almost double, right? The cost per lead that you have when you run just static creatives or image ads, right? And so the last thing is pay for good information. This is so critical. This goes against for me because I'm recording a YouTube video right now. That's for free, right? But honestly, again, like, this has been a tough one to learn for myself. Like, in the beginning, I always used to say, oh, like YouTube, yes, like YouTube, or like YouTube is everything, or free courses, or, you know, hacks and courses. Honestly, the real valuable information, yes, you can find bits and pieces on YouTube, but the real thing is when you buy something. And I don't have any courses, so I don't care. But I recommend, if you want to run ads, you buy some courses, right? And you buy a course, one course, you stick to it, update it 2024, and that's the only source of information you have. Otherwise, if you have like 10 different sources of information, could be me, could be another YouTuber, could be like anybody else, could be like another business, like could be Realty Rulers, or could be like, whatever digital down the road, right? Like if you have like 10 sources at the same time, it's so tough to actually learn a concept because 10 people are saying different things. Because I'm saying this, another guy could say, oh no, like cheap leads are so good, right? And so it could be, right? Like everybody's a different opinion, right? And so we have to say, like, think critical about that. Choose pay something. The shortest, like the biggest shortcut you can have in trying to run ads for yourself is paying for good information. Or what I recommend, like this, again, I don't care about that because I don't do any consulting aside from like my business realty rules. Pay for a coach, pay for somebody, like pay for 2 hours of somebody's time, let him teach you one-on-one on a Zoom how to do these things. I don't do it myself personally, but for me, that's been, for my business, that's been the biggest source of knowledge. Paying a mentor, paying somebody to do something one-on-one, rather than even courses. Courses are like general knowledge, and it's good. It's packed in a that makes it easier to learn because you have like a chapters, right? But if you have a mentor one-on-one, then he can solve specific problems for you, and you can learn how he's solving those problems, right? I recommend you do something like that if you want to do it in the shortest possible amount of time, right? And so again, these, if you want to run ads for yourself, right, and you don't want to, pay somebody to do it for you, I recommend if you want to learn it, pay a coach or something like that, right? And so the second thing is changing stuff consistently, okay? So after I consume literally every possible piece of training of ads out there, not just about Facebook, about YouTube, about Google, I learned that there are specific time frames you have to follow if you want to actually make smart decisions. So the only way to make decisions when running ads is by using the data that you have available, okay? So if you're changing stuff already and you launched it yesterday, honestly, like your campaign is doomed to fail. I'm not saying this to discourage you or anything, but if right now you're running ads, you just started and you already changed something after a day, you're doomed to fail. Why? Because there are specific time frames you have to respect in order to make smart decisions. What I call smart decisions are decisions that are based on data. And the only way you can get enough data is through time. Okay, so for example, with Facebook, the way I approach the decision making is, okay, let's wait 3 days. Okay, I want more data. Let's wait 7 days. Okay, after 7 days, let's wait, potentially like 2 weeks, whatever, depending on the size of the decision. Of course, the bigger the decision, the more data I want to have about it, right? But it's just an image, whatever, you can do in like 4 to 7 days, right? And the thing is that when you're using Google or YouTube, it takes longer, okay? So with Facebook, you could say 3 to 7 days, 2 weeks max to really see the data. With YouTube or Google, takes longer, right? And the biggest thing is let the algorithm breathe, okay? That's the biggest mistake I personally myself. When you start changing stuff, you start going to this downward spiral, right? And so when you go into this downward spiral, essentially, like, you make a change, it makes things worse, you don't think about it, you make another change, makes things worse, and after 10 changes, you don't even remember when you started, right? And now you're in such a big hole, you gotta stop running ads because they just don't work anymore. So don't do this. It doesn't work quite well, right? So the way you go about actually making changes should be, okay, try one thing at a time, right? And I'm gonna talk about this in point 4, but I'm gonna save this for point 4. Point 3 is actually low ad spend, right? So when you think about, okay, let me just put $5 for a few days, hope and pray I get a good lead. If you think like that, don't run ads. Please don't do it, because otherwise you're gonna waste whatever, $20. So if you want to waste $20, it's fine. But if you just want to spend a few dollars for a few days just to test the waters, right? It's not gonna work, right? What I'm saying is that it's not enough volume. And I did the mistake in the beginning for my own business. I was like, oh yeah, let's test the waters, right? Let's see if this works for my business. The problem is that you cannot really see if it works until you spend a lot of money on it, right? Not saying to spend like, $50K on it just to see if it works. Of course, you're not getting leads, it's not working, right? But what I'm saying is that if you just start with this thinking like, just spend $2 and see if it works, it's never gonna work. And the reason being is that these online ads are all about data, right? And if you cannot not get enough data, right? I'm saying a reasonable time frame. So if you spend $5 and you're competing against people who are spending, let's say, $25, well, for you it takes 5 times longer to see the data. So imagine, like, for them it takes a week. For you it takes a month and a half, right? A month and a 1 week, right? So it takes an eternity to see if the ads are working, right? And the problem is that you're not getting enough impressions, you're not getting enough clicks, you're not getting enough, right, to simply get a decent amount of leads. Because at the end of the day, like, especially with sellers, it costs money. If you wanted to buyers, you could get a buy with less money, but even with buyers, if you want to spend like $5, it's not worth it, in my opinion. Again, the instinct tells you, like, let's start with a few dollars, but the problem is that, like, again, like I said, if it takes an eternity, you're never going to see results. Because let's say you make a change, I have to wait a month and a half. So by the time you see if it works, you spend like loads of money without knowing. Like, we're just shooting in the dark, basically, right? And all that matters to the algorithm, right? So what I recommend is minimum $25 a day. For my clients, minimum $30 a day. That's a condition I set because, honestly, if I have to work with people, I want to make sure they know that $30 a day is the best ad spend to actually start seeing results. You could start with 25, you could start with 20 potentially, but 25 minimum is really the minimum ad spend you want to have if you actually want to get results. So $750 a month, and then depending on the city, you can change this and spend even more. Honestly, if you're in LA, the competition is higher than in like Little Rock or Arkansas, right? So if you're in like Memphis, Tennessee, not a lot of people are probably running ads like Los Angeles, right? So, you can adjust the ad spend based off your market. But if you're like, whatever, New York City, you cannot spend $15 and get results because there are tens of thousands of realtors advertising the same exact radius, right? Same exact zip, right? And so the real question is, like, do you want to get real listings out of this? Because if yes, you realize this, that like $750 a month is nothing compared to like 10K in commission. Even if you get one deal, right, in whatever, months. It takes months, honestly, right? Even for our clients, with everything kind of systematized, it takes time. You cannot expect to get on something like this, start advertising, get somebody who clicks, tomorrow is ready to go. It doesn't work like that. Ads are really for people who have patience. And again, learn this for my business. It's so easy to get emotional. You see the ad spend going, you see the money coming down, and you think, oh, like, I'm wasting money. But the truth is that you're unlocking the ability to basically buy listings. So that ability is not something you unlock for free or for cheap, right? Like, once you crack ads, once you get it, right, you can get literally listings paying for it, right? Imagine if you could say, okay, I've spent this, I get 2 listings out of it. Do you realize how powerful that is for a business at scale? Okay, of course, if you just want to get 1 listing a month, that's good. But I suppose if you're watching this video, you don't want to just get 1 listing a month and that's it, and for the end, till the end of your real estate career, right? So again, like, after you launch, you want to make sure that you have enough money to cover ad spend for quite a while, to be honest, without relying on them to bring you deals. You don't want to rely on ads to bring you deals. Otherwise, it's going to be a nightmare, right? Because you're going to risk, basically, if you rely on ads to get deals, like for now, you have no sources of acquisition aside from ads, and you rely on those to get deals, it can be bad, right? It can get bad, right? So I recommend, before you start running ads, before you even start spending $1, you have a proven source of acquisition aside from ads, right? Could be cold calling, door knocking, good way to start. And that way you also get good at sales. And so when you get face-to-face with people who came in from ads, you easily seal the deal because, honestly, like, you're good on listing presentations, you're good on the phone. And so I recommend you start with those. You learn sales, and then over time you spend your first $1, right? And so honestly, this goes against me again, but I don't want to be the type of guy to always say, yes, like, run ads now, like, spend thousands of dollars now, like, trust me, that's gonna get you business. But if you have no business aside from ads are never gonna work, right? To be really honest, you should start by building organic sources of acquisition and then building something from paid source of acquisition, right? And so here's a list of things to check off before you start your own ads, okay? Because I want to give you some actionable steps at the same time, okay? So the first thing, again, like I said, updated info on how ads work in 2024. I made a video a few months ago, and a few things are already outdated, right? It's crazy. Like, this market moves so fast. You could do something in 3 months, and after 3 months, it's already outdated. So be careful. If you find a tutorial that's a year old, be really careful, because that tutorial could be completely wrong nowadays, right? Ads change so fast, right? And so full in detail schedule on exactly how many touch points you're going to have with every single lead that comes in, okay? So if you don't have a plan, go to my video number 2 on my channel. I give away for free basically a plan I give to my clients, the schedule, what to do, 0 to 7 days, 7 to 2 weeks, 2 weeks to 4 weeks, and 30-day plus, what to do with this guys specifically in terms of like how many times you call them, what texts you send, what emails do you send, how many emails, how many text messages. If you don't know this stuff, don't spend $1, because again, ads are just the 20%. Like, they can get leads. Of course, ads are good, but again, how many text messages are you gonna send before giving it up, right? What emails are you gonna send to these guys? How are you gonna call them? How many times are you gonna call them? What are you gonna say on the phone, right? And so the other thing, script design to convert stellar leads specifically in 2024, right? That's so important, right? Like, I see you could use scripts that are 10 years old. Honestly, scripts are not that outdated, whatever, but in general, if you follow the same frameworks of successful scripts, they're gonna work. What I'm saying is just make sure you have a good script, right? And then lastly, or not lastly, the full in detail follow-up system, potentially over a year, right? And so that's, again, video number 2. If you don't have a follow-up automated system, if you don't have a way to send text messages, emails to these guys at scale for a year without you being involved, sending the little text every time, you're gonna fail, because otherwise it's gonna take you an eternity to even like send 10 text messages. You cannot do that. You have to spend your time either practicing the scripts, either role playing, either calling the leads, having good conversations. So either door knocking, cold calling, or again, working with your sphere, whatever. But if you just waste time on a CRM sending text messages, that's not a good way to spend your time, because it could be automated easily, right? So make sure you do that. You find a way to automate emails and text messages. If you go to video number 2, I can explain how to do them and how we do it for our business, right? Last thing, proven listing presentation, okay? So the biggest thing here is that if you just go if you just visit their home, and you don't know what to say, ads are not gonna fix that, right? So please, on YouTube, you'll find so many good listing presentations. Brian Buffini, or also Brian Casella. Like, there's so many people talking about how to deliver good listing presentations. So make sure you follow one. Again, follow one source of information. That's the way I always learn for myself. I always pick one channel, and then I learn from them, right? And then once I master what they told me, I might integrate that with other sources of knowledge. But if you start with 10 sources at the same time, it gets too overwhelming, right? So make sure you start one, you master that listing presentation. It works. Remember, every single listing presentation, as long as they're real people, like, it works, right? So don't make the mistake of thinking, oh, this doesn't work. Everything works as long as you master it, right? And then over time, you can make it perfect so it works even better, right? So again, just to recap, basically, don't think about ads. Think about ads, filtering, conversion mechanism, and sales. That's gonna be what you build on top of ads, right? So if you ever meet somebody who's telling you, yes, we can run your ads. Okay, do you have a filtering process in the backend? Do you have a good conversion mechanism? Do you have a proven sales process? Without these things, ads don't matter. You could do it, but I guess you don't care about having a few leads in the system. Because again, otherwise you're gonna get pissed, because now you have these leads and you don't know how to convert them, they're not responding, or whatever. You have a bunch of people in the back end without knowing what to do, right? So number 4, last point, is split testing optimization, okay? So earlier I mentioned how changing your stuff every day will only make things worse, okay? But at the same time, if you want results, want to run ads yourself, you spend a minimum of 2 hours every weekend analyzing the KPIs to see if your ads are producing or if you need to change something, okay? And then based on that, you can proceed to change the thing, okay? So there's a science on how you go about changing things, and this is one of the biggest things I learned on my journey. The rule is one thing at a time, okay? So what do you do? Let's say you're testing images. What you do is you test one image, right? And then you test it, you see if it works. It doesn't work, okay? Now you waited 7 days, didn't work. Okay, now you see, okay, like what images are working the best across the market, right? So you want to see what types of ads other people are running, right? For example, in your training, whatever you bought, or you could ask your mentor, whatever, what types of ads are working the best. And so you want to test those, right? And so also what you can do is, again, that's why I recommend paying for somebody to learn. Honestly, you could do this, but it would take so many months to learn this alone. Like, it's not even worth it, right? Because you could learn out of like YouTube tutorials strictly. You can, absolutely. But it depends on how much time you want to take, right? And so when you're testing ads, you never want to test more than one thing and one thing only for 3 to 7 days up to weeks, as we've discussed previously. And for example, if you want to change the image of your ad because your CTR, click-through ratio, so the percentage of like people who saw the ad and then clicked, right? If you don't know what CTR is, go back to the first video I made on the channel. That video kind of explains the real basics, foundations behind running ads. But then you have to wait minimum 3 days to see if that image is actually helping out, okay? If you change the headline and then the copy and then the image, you have no way to actually see what brought results, okay? So one thing at a time. So if, for example, you change the image, you don't want to change the copy, you don't want to change the headline and then change the angle of the copy. Like, focus on one thing at a time, and over time, trust me, like, you'll fix it, right? It's just a matter of like spending time consistently real data. You don't want to make the mistake of wanting to change the numbers on a screen. Because in the beginning, like, it's fine. Like, in the beginning, you probably want to change numbers on a screen because you don't like them, right? You see a high cost per lead and think, oh, okay, what do I have to do now? I want to get lower, right? It's like been only 2 days. So don't do it, right? Numbers, don't try to change numbers on a screen. Like, make decisions logically and not emotionally, right? And lastly, like, I'll give you the core metrics you need to analyze. CPA, cost per appointment, okay? The way you decrease, okay, so meaning, let's say you have a, whatever, let's say your cost per appointment is, throwing just numbers on, like, say it's like $3,000. That's a terrible cost per appointment. If you want to get it, if you want to get it down, let's say $500. What you have to do is, okay, the way you get it down is having a good script, having a follow-up plan, having a good conversion mechanism. So over time, it goes down, right? Cost per lead. The way you get it down is through good images, good copy, and then you analyze the CTR, the linked CTR. The linked CTR is going to be based off the headline, okay? So images, copy, and I should add this. The linked CTR is actually a headline, okay? So these are the 3 things you need to take care of. And then landing page, you actually need to take care of the open rate, right? So these are the 4 biggest metrics you need to care about, right? So images, copy, right? So images and ad copy are going to be influencing the CTR and the link CTR, okay? And then the headline is going to influence the link CTR, okay? And then the landing page is going to influence the opt-in rate. So how many people land on your page and then actually complete the survey, answer the questions, and become leads, right? And so at the same time, don't give attention to other vanity metrics. Like, don't care about CPMs or whatever. Like, they don't matter, right? What matters, ultimately, that's like cost per appointment. But then cost per lead. But the cost per lead, honestly, is like caused by so many things. If you just focus on, oh, I have a high cost per lead, what do I have to do? Like, you're gonna probably make a mistake, because cost per lead is caused by all these things beneath. And at the same time, if you have a low cost per appointment and a high cost per lead, and then you try to lower the cost per lead, you might see your cost per appointment go up. So you want to be really careful so cost per appointment is the most important metric, and then cost per lead is the second most important metric, but cost per lead has a lot of things beneath, right? So CTR, link CTR, and opt-in rate, right? Lastly, full schedule. I'll give you a full schedule of actionable steps. Number one is you should have a master tracker yourself, right? Either with Airtable, Google Sheets, whatever, with all these metrics. So what I track for personally for myself, I could actually, if I remember about this, I'm gonna put an image on this, but or I'm gonna put it in the description, is essentially master tracker all the metrics, right? Second thing, 2 hours minimum every Sunday. You want to review the data, right? So on your master tracker, you're gonna have cost per lead, CTR, link CTR, opt-in rate. You're gonna have your cost per appointment if you had any appointments. Okay, and then you're gonna have, okay, like if you actually stay consistent through the week, or if you Slack with the leads, whatever, right? I have a tracker I give to my clients, but basically, if I remember, I'm gonna include a screenshot here to kind of show you what it looks like. You might see it now, I don't know. But the third thing is actually having a change log sheet, okay? So for every client I have, for every client of mine, I have a sheet with all the changes I make, because the biggest mistake you can make is go to a downward spiral, okay? You make a change, you make 2 changes, 3 changes, 4 changes, boom. 2 weeks in, you completely lost it. You don't even remember when you started. So every change you make, you want to note it down on a Google Docs, whatever, on a Notion page like this. And so worst case scenario, you come back to the very first thing, very first setup you had, and then you start over again, right? Last thing, keep the time frames in mind. Don't make fast changes. So every week you want to review the data, but if it's been 3 days since you started, you don't want to make changes, okay? That was it. Make sure, if you actually want this Notion page, go down below in the description. There is a link to download Notion. And aside from that, hope you found this valuable. I might include in the description too the link for the tracker. So go to the description below. You find all the relevant links with all the things you want to download about this video. And that was it, guys. Hope you found this valuable, and I'll see you inside our next video.